Well, I just got done talking to Amy Todd at the 410 Bridge. They're here in Alpharetta, Georgia, actually in my own backyard. And I've known them for probably about 3 years. First came in contact with them when I went on my first mission trip to Haiti. I'm now actually leading mission trips of teams back to the same community in Haiti. But anyway, I love their model and what they do. I think they're very unique in the way that they go about community development, and they're just a very down to earth model and mission that just really is driven by making the church the local hero and lifting allowing people to lift themselves out of poverty while walking alongside of them in that journey. So anyway, there's this conversation is just chock full of information about that, and what I really love is that we've shared a lot about the what's going on around the world right now as far as food security, education, health, everything amidst this global pandemic. So this is like a full conversation full of good stuff, and I'm really excited for you to take a look. So I've been involved probably with 410 Bridge for the last 2 to 3 years, and I have to say that you're one of my absolute top organizations that I like to support and share about and get involved with because of the way in which you do your work and how you serve and really walk alongside of people in their difficult situations. So thanks again for meeting with me today. And I would just like to maybe we could start by you sharing a little bit about you, your role at 410 Bridge, and the mission of your organization.
Sure, sure. And thank you so much, Stephanie, personally, just for loving us and supporting us these past years. It really means a lot. Me personally, I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary
Wow.
with 410.
Ooh.
I'm one of the more mature crowd at our office, but very much love the work that we do there. I don't think if I truly didn't believe in it, and actually, I just sit in a seat where I can see the impact.
Yeah.
Maybe not on a daily basis, but for sure, as the months go by, just see the impact that we're having on people's lives. Anyway, that's kind of like I probably wouldn't have lasted 10 years in this work if I really truly didn't believe in what we were doing. Specifically, I've held many positions, but specifically what I'm doing right now is I'm the program manager for the country of Haiti and Guatemala. So I work very, very closely with our in-country staff and executing the programs on the ground. And so it's a very unique seat because I'm probably one of the people in the U.S. office that is closest to what is actually going on the ground, going on the ground every day.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as you were talking about it, I was like, she knows what's going on the ground and probably the closest to it. So that's really it is a really neat place to be and work, and I'm sure difficult at times in a lot of different ways, but really rewarding, and what you're doing directly affects the work. So that's amazing. Can you share about the 410 Bridge model, your mission? I think that, and the reason I'm asking this is because I think 410 Bridge is very unique in the way that you walk with people in material poverty. So if you could just kind of share about that, that would be awesome.
Sure. Love talking about it. I'm actually probably going to steal from our website. We've just recently kind of updated our website on some information, and it's just very succinct. And so I'm going to kind of steal from that right now. Basically, we just want to help the poor in the countries that we work in to lift themselves up out of poverty. And by doing that, our three key words always around our office is restoring their dignity, purpose, and freedom. And we truly do believe that they're the solution to their own problems, that the outside world isn't that. Not that they don't need assistance, but they know how to solve a lot of their problems. Just for instance, 90% of the people in our communities live on $2.50 a day. And when you live under that type of constraint and pressure, you feel hopeless, you feel trapped, you lose your feeling of purpose in life. And we just feel like if we can give them opportunities to increase that, to even double it or triple it, just imagine there's so much freedom that they then have to make different life choices for their families, just like we want that freedom here. And so that's really the mission of what we're trying to do. And in the big scheme of things, we want to work ourselves out of a job. We don't want to be in a community 20, 30 years. We want to get in. We want to set them up for success, and then what we call graduate them. Once they've been set on this trajectory, they can take off from there themselves. They don't have to have us. So have to have us around. Right. And so our model is very much to work along beside them and to do the programs and the projects that we're doing with them, to do them in a very sustainable way so that they don't have to rely on the outside world to fund and to help them execute those programs in the long term. We just want to be there to help get them started. They choose their leaders. They set their priorities. They discover the solutions with our help and with our other partners that we work with on the ground with the help. But they discover their solutions to safe water, to education, to health care, to economic development, and spiritual development. Those are all the 5 areas that we work in. And we, along with our U.S. church partners or U.S. Individual supporters and donors, schools, organizations here in the U.S. that we partner with, we just want to walk along beside them in doing that. We don't want to be in front. We don't want to lead them. We want to be beside them along the way, so that when we do say goodbye eventually, they're very confident that they can continue their development work on their own.
Yeah, I love it so much, and I've actually even seen that in just small ways. Even in I'm leading mission trips to Haiti, to one of your communities, La Haiti, and one of the, even as far as choosing a date to go on the trip, or the types of activities that we do on those trips are completely. I know that you consult with the community members first in the leadership council, so that it's coming from the inside out rather than the outside in. And I think just even that, the way even in the small details, you're truly living out that model, which I've seen over and over again by being there. And even I have to say too, because this was just one of the most exciting moments of last year when we went on the trip. So we were told before, we have been fundraising to help the community get a water well, and we were told before we were leaving that they were going to be breaking ground perhaps when we were there. Well, we actually got there and we were touring the community, and the water well was already built. It wasn't completed, but the structure was there, which was a huge surprise. And we were that was just enough in itself to see. It was just so exciting. But what really kind of floored me was we drove by one day and the community members were out working on the well and completing it and building it. And it shouldn't have been surprising, because that's what we hear. The community members are doing the work themselves, and it's not an outside organization. It's not 410 Bridge that's doing all of it for them. I know that you do have partners and stuff that come in, but really they're working and they're doing part of it. And so to see that was a real manifestation of it. Oh my gosh, it actually is true. It's working, and to see it with your own eyes, it was just such a exciting moment. So I just love that that's part of, that's your model. So anyway.
Yeah, and sending teams is a big part of of our programming, because we want the relationships to develop and stuff. But sometimes I think we lose sight of what's going on when teams aren't there.
Yeah.
And exactly kind of what you saw unexpectedly, that's happening in every project. It's not like the communities are waiting for a team to come or for help to come. Once they've got a plan in place and we've gotten them started, they can, and quite honestly, they work a lot harder than we do, and they're just more vested. It's their community, and so they're very capable of doing what needs to be done in their communities.
Exactly, and it's perfect, wonderful. So now that we've talked about the model and the mission and stuff, can you just share a little bit about how this global pandemic is affecting the work you do and the people in the communities that you're working in, and like how you're responding to all of this?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So in the midst of a crisis, which this is obviously, our work definitely takes a little bit of a turn, sometimes a big turn in this case, and it turns into more relief type projects. We're a community development organization. We're not a relief. There are many organizations that are pure relief and that are continually giving out food and giving out medicines and things like that. That's not our normal operating business, if you will. And so, but in times like these, we can't do normal community development work. You have to help people pull themselves back up to some level of normalcy after a natural disaster or a civil crisis in the country, or in this case, this worldwide pandemic that's hit all of us. You have to lift people up to a certain level before you can expect them to move forward on their own. And so we're definitely finding ourselves in a relief type of mode. The key to situations like this is how long you stay in that relief period. It can get very dangerous if you stay too long, because then you start to create dependencies. And so we're very aware that we need to constantly be evaluating and checking ourselves as to the programs that we're doing and the true relief need, or is it extending a little bit too long? Coming out of like a hurricane for Haiti, we will be in a relief stage for a period of time. And then we'll go through kind of a rehabilitation stage where we help like rebuild some buildings that are damaged or things like that. But ultimately, we want to get back to the development stage as quickly as possible. At this point, in the middle of this crisis, we're definitely in relief. You have to help people meet basic needs, such as food security. And this is a situation that's happening all over the world in developing countries. And so you have to realize that in developing countries, they don't store food away like we can here in the U.S. A lot of people live from day to day on the food that they need, or at least like market day to market day. There'll be like 2 market days a week, maybe, in the communities where we are. And so they're buying their supplies, to get them to the next market day. So when a crisis like this hits, they don't have access. The markets are shut down. They don't have access to the food that they're relying on, in 2 days or maybe the next day. And so we're definitely in relief mode right now. And honestly, at this point, not quite sure how long we will be there. You get many questions about, what do you see in the future? What do you see 30 days from now or 60 days from now? And this is unprecedented. We've dealt with many situations, crisis situations, but nothing like this. And so it's hard to determine how long that we're going to be in this stage right now. But we definitely know that we need to be there, and we need to be responding in different ways than what we would normally how we would normally respond.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for that. deep dive into understanding the difference between relief, rehabilitation, and development. And I know that's something that you really try to keep lines between and work within. So that's really interesting and helpful to kind of frame the perspective and understanding what's happening right now. So thank you. But I'd also like to ask, like, what's happening in the countries that you work in, right? You're working in Kenya, Guatemala, and Haiti right now, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening in those countries specifically?
So right now, in all three of those countries, we've done an initial food distribution. There were people identified in our communities that were in vulnerable situations, and so Kenya has completed theirs. Haiti probably completed their initial food distribution first. Kenya, and that went out to like 750 families. Kenya had a much bigger distribution. They finished shortly after Haiti, and then Guatemala, which we don't have near as many communities in Guatemala yet. We finished up that distribution at the beginning of last week, and so that's been done in all countries. In Haiti specifically, because I work with Haiti, I'll give you a few more details. It's planting season right now. And so normally the government gets involved in getting seeds out to the rural farmers out where our communities are. And that has kind of been, it was just kind of shut down, quite honestly, in the midst of the COVID-19. And so as of this week, like going on right now, we are distributing seeds to 800 farmers across all of our communities. Because it is planting season right now, there's an urgency to get this in their hands. And many of our program community coordinators are agronomists. They have that in their kind of tool chest, and they're going to be working really closely, more than usual, but working closely with these farmers that are getting these seeds on instituting farming methodology, like that would be taught in our Foundations for Farming class, and hopefully just to get the highest yields as possible from these crops. So by doing this now, our prayer is that the communities will have crops 2 to 3 months from now that will be available to them, if this current situation continues for that long, which some people say it will. So that's kind of specific to Haiti. One prayer request I would ask is that we're in control of getting the seeds to them and them getting the seeds in the ground, but we need to be praying really big for the rains to come when they're needed and how much is needed, especially in those southern coastal communities. You're familiar with that area because of your connection to L'Abbaye, but those areas tend to struggle a little bit more with farming because of the rainfall. Is just not as prevalent down there. So I'm asking anybody and everybody to just pray for, the right amount of rains to come along behind us in this seed distribution. Following up, I think every country, I know every country is kind of pre-planning for that next food distribution. We're kind of waiting to see. Some countries, there's other organizations that are out there helping in the areas where we work, and so that's great. It's not all dependent on us. So, and especially in Guatemala, we're going to kind of see how that pans out and how long that help lasts, and then come in behind that, because we think that we'll need help, like I said, 2 months down the road potentially. And so, and then in Haiti, there were a couple of communities that were minimally served the first time around, and or not served at all. And so we're probably going to do kind of a phase 2A for those communities a little bit more quickly than the other communities would get a second distribution.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I knew a lot of that, but not. I didn't know about the foundations for farming or the seeds that you're distributing and stuff. Maybe I missed that, but you've been sending out video updates weekly with Kurt Candler, and those have been really, really helpful too. And so this is like amazing insight because most of that I didn't know.
Yeah, I
But yeah.
think it'll definitely be addressed in this week's video update.
Yeah, perfect. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for that. And I know too, education has been a bit of a difficulty, at least in Haiti, right? Can you share what you're doing around that?
Yeah, this is a really, really hard one across all of our countries because, schools got shut down in the U.S.,
Yeah.
and the immediate response involved technology. And that's just not available. People in our rural communities don't have access to the internet. They don't have computers in
Yeah.
their homes, and so that's just not been a viable answer
Mm-hmm.
in our communities. We're working, I know specifically for Haiti, I'm working with our Broody, our program manager, and our education manager. We've got some ideas on moving forward in the education area. It involves kind of the teachers being able to swap out notebooks with the kids, like give them an
Okay.
assignment, they take it home, and then they bring it back, and she gives them another one. We haven't pulled the trigger on that yet because we have to ensure the safety protocols
Yeah.
that can be put in place so we're not potentially passing, a virus back and forth.
Right.
So that's kind of new information out on the street
Yeah.
in terms of Haiti. And I don't, like I said, we haven't pulled the trigger
I
because
don't know.
the
Yeah.
worst thing that we could do, and thankfully, like right now, the virus is not in any 410 community anywhere.
Mm.
If it were to get into a community, the worst thing we could do is to have a program in place where we're helping to spread it.
Yes.
And so we're being really, really self-conscious and deliberate on if a program cannot meet certain protocols, we just don't think we need to take the risk right now.
Right. Right.
Um, and Haiti schools are actually, they're at the end of their school year, kind of like we are. Their
Yeah.
school year ends in June. There hasn't been much to come out from the government about like prolonging that and keeping them in school longer through the summer. So well, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot in the next, hopefully in the next month. And we may move forward on our own with this program that we're looking at. But it still needs some tweaks figured out about that.
Sounds
One
like,
other thing I wanted to share with you that's going on in Haiti that we're really excited about is one of our communities in the Artibonite region, which is near the St. Mark, is the big city where that they're near. They have a sewing center, and they have started making face masks.
Wow.
And so this has been a huge opportunity through very generous donors. We were able to kind of start this sewing center project within the last year. And it was actually designed for something totally different, as you can imagine, than face masks.
Yeah.
But it's developed into a really cool project there. They probably can produce about 2,000 masks a week out of this sewing center. And we're already working with another organization on the ground, and they've placed an order for 2,000. So not only are we helping get face masks to people, but the people involved in that community are able to, keep an income, coming in to their homes and into that community. So, we're excited. That's kind of just starting this week as we speak.
Yeah, I'm here seeing a pattern in that a lot of the programs, this is probably unique to how you work in the community development because a lot of the programs that you're implementing now are either just being tweaked a little bit, basically being tweaked a little bit, but they were already implemented out of good community development practice before all of this happened. Like the the farming and the sewing, and it's like I think that's what true empowerment is it's even though you're still walking with them, they're already at a place where they're able to kind of shift quicker and be self-sustaining in a way through a crisis like this that is a crazy out of nowhere crisis. And I think that's really the goal of community development, is to get to a place where you have things in place well enough to be able to endure when crises come along. And so I guess I'm just making that connection right now, and that's pretty incredible. And it's a testament to, not only 410, but like the community themselves and the members and what they're doing. And so that's really beautiful.
For sure. Like not only in Haiti, but in Kenya, they didn't necessarily have a community sewing center already set up, but a lot of the community members over there have gone through our business startup training, and they have started small businesses creating their own face masks. Our staff kind of helped find this video on how to make a face mask, and they've started not only helping, like I said, provide for their community, but also this is a business opportunity for them, to sustain, income coming into their home in the middle of this.
Wow, I have the chills as you're telling me because it's so exciting. It's just, I love it. It's so beautiful. That's really cool. Okay, so could we shift gears a little bit and just sharing, I've experienced in Haiti how much the people there have faith in their hearts and the hope, and God literally just drives everything that they do. And could you share a little bit about that? Maybe, in this context or not, just depending on, but.
Yeah, sure. And, the Haitian people I first had my experience in Haiti on a trip in 2011, and have watched them through many years, and they're just so resilient in so many ways. Unfortunately, they have a lot of experience in dealing with large crisis situations. The earthquake of 2010, that was just unimaginable. And, they came out of that. There's been catastrophic hurricanes that have hit certain parts of the islands. That's just been devastating. And, they've come out of that. That part of Haiti has come out of that. There's been just very, huge rains, flooding, in the mountainsides of Haiti that has just been devastating. There's been some communities there. And just recently, they just came out of several months of really intense civil unrest over there that, crippled the country in many ways. And they were just coming out of that, in January and February of this year. And we had to kind of suspend some operations through the middle of that because we just weren't able to do any work. And so we were just ramping back up, right, to start, and just had so many plans, and everybody was so excited. And, now this hits. And so they just continue to survive these things over and over. They need help to do it, they need our help. They need the outside world's help sometimes, a lot of times to do it. But they just have this faith that God is going to provide, and it's going to provide many times over. And that can look very differently. That can look, like just the next season of crops is going to be unbelievable, and He's providing in that way. That could be, an organization landing in their community and has resources and tools to help them, rehabilitate, rebuild. It can look very many different ways, but in their minds, that is God. That is all God. He is providing in many different ways, and they just have that faith. It's quite extraordinary if you think about some of the things that they've endured, and that that we're able to sit here just a few minutes ago and talk about stories of the Piat Sewing Center and, and like you mentioned, some programs that have been put in place earlier. It's like God saw this coming, and He's going. He's got this. They just need to trust. Really,
right.
It's quite amazing, and it's a testament to their faith.
Yeah, it really is, and I've experienced that too. I think that's what drew me in when I first visited l'Abbaye in Haiti a couple of years ago. Was we were met by them, and the first thing we did is worship together and prayed together, and throughout the entire week, that was the focus by which we did all the other activities. And we like throughout the week, and we left feeling like, oh my gosh, like I've seen what truth faith is, and it's really given at least me a different perspective on that, and really been inspiring. So I agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
One other thing, and I should have mentioned this in our model because it's huge. I can't believe I didn't mention it, but our goal is to make the local church the hero in our communities. We don't want these mental pictures left in the minds of the community members of Americans coming over from the U.S. and handing them things and giving them things, and we don't want that to be the picture that they have in their head. We want the picture to be that if I'm struggling, I have my local church to depend on. And so part of our model is working through that local church to hopefully solidify that foundation in the community, that even when everybody else is gone and it's just the Haitians there, that they love each other and they support each other and they understand each other's trials, and they're going to be there for them.
Right, yeah, that's huge. So since we're on the topic of, resiliency, growth, faith, I'd just like to ask, how do you think that we're growing as humanity, and how are we being formed in all of this? Because there's got to be a greater purpose in what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that is a big question. And probably people a lot smarter or deeper thinkers than me would have some answers to that. I think one thing that comes to mind when I think about that question is, I think for us here in the U.S., first of all, this has been very unique. We're not used to this. We're not used to this level of crisis, if you will. We cannot buy our way out of this. Yeah. We have to experience it. It really doesn't matter, who you are in the U.S., you have to experience this crisis at some level. Now, I say that completely understanding that even though we're all in the same storm, we're in very different boats. Yeah. Some of us are set up to survive this much easier than others. But hopefully, this will give us kind of pause, time to pause and just grow in many different ways based on yourself as an individual. I know from my high school days, many years ago, I was taught by a teacher that, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning. And, this has definitely been an uncomfortable season for us. And so we have to be learning a lot during this about ourselves, just that reflection time of ourselves and how we're reacting to this or how we're not reacting to this. We're learning about our communities, our neighbors, that are, like I said, they're in a different boat than us. And then also when I say communities, I also include our international communities. I mean, we're seeing, how this is affecting other countries that are not, that are not as developed as the U.S. And I think the key is, what are you going to do with those learnings after all this is over. I don't think there's just going to be one. I think there's going to be many, many different things. And based on your individual situation, those things will look different. But hopefully, it's going to change you in some way. And I guess that's kind of how I would react or answer that question. One thing I will tell you that is so it makes me feel really good, especially to be part of the organization and to be part of part of our partners in the U.S. churches that we partner with here, and our belief in what we're doing in the countries that we're doing is one thing I've heard from the Haiti staff many times is that the community leaders in our communities where we're working, they know that this is a worldwide event, and it's affecting everybody, and it's affecting the U.S. too. But they just are so comforted that we've not forgotten about them. I mean, we're dealing with stuff over here, right, that is not easy to deal with. But even in the middle of all of that, they recognize that they've not been forgotten, which which just warms my heart. That if nothing else, just that encouragement that I'm not forgotten, and that people love me, people want to encourage me, people believe in me. That's kind of standing firm inside of this this thing that's affecting the entire world.
Yeah, I love that. I think knowing that someone cares is just half the battle, and it's so important for continuing to affirm dignity and for that self-actualization piece that we're all trying to build to get to. So I love that, and I'm so glad and so thankful that 410 Bridge and other organizations are there to walk with them during this, and that we can be actually too, which leads me to ask, how could we, if we want to get involved, learn more about what's going on, just all of the 410 Bridge stuff, how can people do that? And I do want to mention, I recognize too that this is a interesting and difficult time for a lot of different reasons on different levels for different people, and so this isn't necessarily an ask, but there's people that might want to get more involved with what you're doing right now. So can you just share about that?
Yeah, sure, I would love to, and totally agree with you. This isn't an ask, if you will, because we at 410 Bridge, obviously we're a nonprofit. We depend on our donors and our supporters, 100% of the time, all the time. But we totally recognize that everybody is going through their own, situation here. But if you are in a position, it feels like that the U.S. has made the turn, and that we're starting to recover, and that recovery obviously could be much quicker for some rather than others. But if you are in a position to give, we do have the COVID-19 Relief Fund. All you have to do is go to 410bridge.org. It's the front page, and you can make a donation there. You can make it specifically to a country. You can make just a general donation. You can make it to even a community if you're tied directly to a community. I mentioned before, we're not sure how long this is going to last. We have been so blessed with the donations that have come in to date, and those, as I mentioned to you earlier, what we're doing, those donations are being put to very, very good use and impacting a lot of people. But we're not sure how long this is going to last. And so, if there's the ability to donate down the road, even, it still will be valuable for our communities. And all of these donations go towards relief programs. They will not be routed, towards anything else, but it's specifically to the relief programs.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I suppose we, like you said earlier, can be praying for countries like the southern coast of Haiti, for the rainfall and just for provision of food and water and God's peace and faith and all that too. So awesome. Okay, so before we go, I like to ask this question. What's one thing that you'd like people to understand about those living in material poverty?
Oh gosh, there's so much.
Another one. You thought you were done.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about this probably for another 30 minutes. I guess the big thing is, and you've been there, so
Mm-hmm.
you totally know this. Some people may not have had the privilege to travel to any of our countries and communities, but I mean, they're no different than us. They just really aren't. They have hopes and dreams for their lives. They have hopes and dreams for their children's lives, for their grandchildren's lives. They have hopes for their communities to look a certain way, at some point. And unfortunately, when you live in a state of poverty, those dreams they can get just pushed down, crushed, or silenced at the least. And everybody deserves the opportunity to live out their dreams.
Yeah.
And to be able to be in a situation to make choices as to how they want to live out that dream, not be told how to do it, but to just to have the choice.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you've ever heard of this person, Father Gregory Boyle. He's a Jesuit priest who works in LA with the gangs. He wrote this book, Tattoos on the Heart, and I'll never forget this book. I give it as a gift to so many people, but there was this quote that just has stuck with me from his book, and it says, you go to the margins not to make a difference, because that'd be about you.
Yeah.
You go to the margins because those people at the margins make you different. And I just love that. And I know that you can relate to that because you've been to Haiti and you know how the people of La Vie have changed your life. And I guess I just want people that have not had the experience that you and I have had, just to realize that these we're so much more alike, the people in our communities, than we are different. And that they have so much to give. They have so much light to share, and they just have so many dreams that all they want is just the chance to just strive to achieve the dreams, even if they don't achieve the ultimate dream, but just to have that opportunity to take steps towards that dream.
Beautiful. It's so true. Like you said, I've seen it, and even right now as you were talking, I felt like it was so real. Like I was just there imagining that we were having a discussion and everything, because it's so true. They're just like us, and they're our friends. They're my friends anyway. In La Vie, we're friends. So this has been so much fun, Amy, and really just an amazing discussion. And thanks so much for taking your time today and sharing about Fortune Bridge, what's happening in your communities, and even how we can get involved and help right now.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure, and it's so nice to be able to meet you virtually or whatever. But it's been a real honor and a privilege to be able to share with you today.
Well, thank you, and we'll see you later. So that was a great conversation, right? I just love talking about the way in which they go about their work, and I think that Amy shared some powerful stories around just the faith of the people in the communities that they work with, and the resilience and everything going through crises, and that this is not the first crisis they've endured, and sadly, but probably not the last. And it's just, I hope it was an eye-opening conversation. I know it was for me. Even though I work with them regularly, I think hearing different perspectives about the work that they're doing, and everything is really powerful. So if you enjoyed this conversation, or you learned something, or there's something you want to share with someone you care about, please do that. And comment below, because I want to continue this conversation with you. And there will be more videos coming out like this every week. So if you go to lovelightstories.com and sign up there, you'll receive an email the next time a video drops. So until then, I'll be thinking of you and praying for our world, and we'll see you next time.